I always thought I knew her completely. 7 years of shared pursuits, adventures, and intimate secrets had formed a reality that I trusted implicitly. But that reality was abruptly shattered by an image flashed across the small screen of my phone that changed my view of her forever. Today, I mustered up the courage to confront my girlfriend. My voice trembled, but I was determined. I let her know that I knew about her infidelity, but refrained from revealing how I got that knowledge. About the spy camera I had secretly installed in our home after months of growing suspicion, I chose to remain silent. She was silent for a long moment, her silence an almost palpable, anxious calm before the inevitable storm. Then the sobs began, quiet, disorderly, the kind of sobs that seem to tear a person from the inside out. For a fleeting moment, I felt the familiar urge to comfort her, to soothe her, as I had done so many times in the past. But not this time. I couldn't let her tears manipulate me. I spoke, my voice as cold and relentless as steel. I can't talk to you if you're going to play the victim. I want you out of my house and out of my life before I return from England. With those words, I terminated the call. I set the phone aside, deliberately ignoring the barrage of calls and messages she sent over the next hour. I had no desire to listen to her pleas, excuses, or apologies. I craved space, silence, anything but the sound of her voice. As time passed, however, the need for answers began to overpower my resolve. I needed her to admit it, to acknowledge the whole truth, no matter how disgusting it was. I answered her call. This time, she was calm, her voice barely audible. She apologized, the words tumbling off her lips, repeating like a twisted mantra, "I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry." I closed my eyes, letting the silence between us linger before finally asking the question that was consuming me. When did it start? She hesitated, her breathing hitching, and then she spoke. She admitted that they had met at work. He was a research scientist with whom she worked closely, and at first their relationship had been strictly professional, until it wasn't anymore. One evening, she admitted that their first sexual encounter had occurred at a conference in Barcelona that they were both attending. She outlined the scene to me, as if I needed the sordid details. They were having drinks after the first day of the conference, and he escorted her to her hotel room. In the hallway, where she had to remember me, she let him do what he wanted. That conference had been 10 months ago. 10 agonizing months. I felt my chest clench and rage bubbling deep inside. So it's been 10 months. 10 months of lying to my face? My voice shook, even though I tried to remain calm. Why? Why did you do it? Did you love him? Was it worth destroying what we had? Her voice cracked, and she insisted I didn't love him. It was just physical. He has a wife and children. I have you. It was never meant to be anything more than that. I love you. I almost laughed at the ridiculousness of her words. Love? It wasn't love. It was betrayal, plain and simple. You love me? I spit out, unable to hide the disgust in my voice. You love me, but you've been sleeping with him for 10 months. And what else? What else have you been hiding from me? The silence that followed was agonizing, each second of her hesitation stabbing deeper and deeper. Finally, she confessed. 3 months ago, she had slept with another man. Just some random man she met while out with friends. A one-night stand. Another betrayal, carelessly thrown on top of the growing pile of deceit she was erecting. I exhale, and the weight of it all came over me, suffocating my soul. "You're incredible," I whisper, shaking my head even though she couldn't see me. "I never thought I'd throw away 7 years of my life on someone like you." She started sobbing again, but I didn't have the compassion left to offer her anything. "I want you gone," I repeated, my voice devoid of emotion. "Out of my house, out of my life. I don't want to see you or talk to you anymore." I hung up and blocked her number this time. I had nothing more to say. All these years, I thought I had a committed partner. I believed we were happy. But now, all I had were shattered illusions and emptiness where my trust had once been. I turned off my phone and immersed myself in the silence of my apartment. The space seemed cold and empty, a stark contrast to the warmth it had once possessed. I looked around, and my gaze fell on the spy camera that had given me the truth I so desperately needed but never got. The device stood still, a cruel reminder of what I had witnessed. Her and him, their laughter, the closeness they shared when they believed no one was watching. I set up the camera on a hunch. For months now, I'd sensed something was wrong. The late nights at work, the way she deflected when I tried to hug her, the empty excuses that didn't add up in any way. I ignored these signs, convincing myself that I was just being paranoid. But eventually the doubts became too strong to ignore, and the camera became my last resort. The recording came out grainy, but the truth was unmistakable. The way they touched each other, the way they kissed it was all there, with painful, undeniable clarity. I viewed it once and then deleted it, and the image is forever imprinted in my memory. The woman I loved had betrayed me in the most intimate way imaginable. I stood, pacing around the room, trying to suppress the anger that was bubbling up inside me. It felt like I had lost everything. 7 years gone, just like that. All the memories, the plans we'd made, the future we'd envisioned had lost meaning. I wanted to scream, to smash something, to find a way to make the pain stop. But there was nothing I could do. The only thing left to do was to let it go and try to pick myself up piece by piece. I needed to escape, to separate myself from the life I once thought was perfect. I needed to breathe, to rid myself of the suffocating weight of betrayal that lurked in every corner of this apartment. Maybe in England I could find a way to forget, start over, to feel like myself again. That night, I packed my things, throwing them into my suitcase without a second thought. I didn't want to stay here a minute longer than necessary. Everything here reminded me of her, her clothes in the closet, her scent on the pillows, our pictures still adorning the shelves. I grabbed all the frames, one by one, and shoved them into the box. I'd deal with them later, maybe burn them, maybe throw them away. I didn't really care. I just needed them gone. The next morning, I headed to the airport, not wanting to look back. I didn't need closure. I didn't need further explanation from her. I just needed to leave. The flight to England was long, the hours dragging on endlessly as I stared out the window, watching the clouds pass by. I replayed our conversation over and over in my head, trying to make sense of it. But it didn't. She had made her choice, and now I had to live with the consequences. Landing, I turned my phone back on, half expecting new messages, new missed calls. but there were none. The silence was both a relief and a painful reminder that it was truly over. 7 years of my life ended with one phone call and a blocked number. I checked into a modest hotel. The room was simple but clean. I dropped my suitcase by the door and collapsed on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. I felt numb, as if the reality of it all hadn't fully dawned on me yet. The woman I loved had betrayed me, and now I found myself alone in a foreign land, trying to figure out what to do next. I spent the next few days wandering around the city, getting lost in the crowds, the noise, the unfamiliar streets. In some ways, it helped. Here, I wasn't a person who had been tricked. I was just another face in the crowd, another visitor trying to make sense of a new place. I visited museums, walked along the river, sat in cafes, and observed my surroundings. It was a distraction, and it was all I needed. But at night, when I returned to my hotel room, the emptiness would return. I lay in bed and stared at my phone, resisting the urge to unlock her number, call her, and demand an answer. I knew there was no answer that would satisfy me, no explanation that could ease the pain. Still, the urge never left me and reminded me of all that I had lost. One night, as I lay there, a message came from an unknown number. My heart raced, and I hesitated before opening it. It was her. "I'm so sorry," the message said. "I know you don't want to hear from me, but I have to say this one last time. I'm really, really sorry about everything." I stared at the message, and everything clenched in my chest. I wanted to respond, to tell her everything I thought about her apology, but I knew it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't undo the betrayal, the lies, the pain. So I deleted the message, turned off my phone, and closed my eyes. The next morning, I decided it was time to move forward. I couldn't keep running from the pain. I couldn't keep drowning in the memories of what we once had. I needed to let her go, to find a path to healing, to rebuild my life without her. It wasn't going to be easy. The scars she'd left behind would take time to fade. But I knew I couldn't let her define me, couldn't let her betrayal be the end of my life. So I bought a train ticket, packed my bags, and left the city. I didn't know my destination or what awaited me there. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that maybe I could find a way to move on, to start over, to find happiness again, even if it was just one small step at a time.